Okay, I think we're going to make a start. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our launch webinar for the Microsoft Surface Hub. My name is Russell Mutter. I'm the UC Sales Specialist here at Westcon. I'm also here with my colleague Lee Evans, who heads up our pre-sales team.
Good morning.
We're really pleased to announce that Westcon has been appointed a Microsoft Surface Hub distributor, and we're going to spend the next 20 minutes or so running through the following topics. We're going to talk about the Surface Hub sales opportunity and why now is a fantastic time to get involved in the Surface Hub opportunity. Lee's going to spend a bit of time talking around the Surface Hub as a product. Then we're going to talk about Westcon and some of the value add services that we're bringing to the proposition, and then a what next slide, where the call to action really for the opportunity. So in terms of forgot to mention, if you do have any questions, there's actually a contact us function within the client that you should be able to see. So please do feel free to ask any questions. And we're actually recording the session as well that can be played back later on. So in terms of the Surface Hub, it is a new category collaboration device from Microsoft. It combines a large format interactive touch display with pens, which actually has a Windows 10 lockdown appliance built in, where you can actually download apps. It includes a whiteboard, so you can actually do brainstorming and whiteboarding on the device and save those whiteboards into OneNote. As I mentioned, you can download applications from the Windows 10 App Store, which gives it lots of different uses for different vertical markets. It combines, obviously, an interactive screen, an inbuilt webcam, a high-quality webcam, actually two on either side, an array of microphones, which basically gives you that whole audio-video conferencing experience. It's best-in-class hardware, and in our experience, there's no comparable product on the market that can compete with Surface Hub within the marketplace right now. It's future-proof, so there's two sizes, 84-inch and 55. As I mentioned before, lots of apps available, familiar apps for people that are used to using Windows 10. There's a range of different apps that suit different business use cases, and it's really fit for any space. We're seeing a large amount of these being deployed in things like huddle spaces, particularly around the 55-inch, and it's designed for anybody within an organization to walk up and use, collaborate, share video, audio over Skype for Business, and be connected across their enterprise. We're seeing significant uptake in government, around construction and engineering, and within government, education as well as another space where it's been particularly popular, finance, health, and manufacturing. And you can see at the bottom of that slide there where some of the key verticals where they've been sold into. So very flexible. Lee, I'll pass over to you to go over the product in more detail.
Okay, thanks, Russ. So Surface Hub as a product, so what do you get and what's it all about? So basically the board ships as a big, large format touch display, as Russell mentioned. You get a couple of pens that ship with the boards as well. There's a keyboard for certain setup functions, and obviously privacy sign-in, as you don't want to be doing that in front of a room of people. And obviously the software that's loaded onto the inbuilt client within the board. A reference there to near zero parallax is basically to do with the thickness of the glass on the screen. So even though it's toughened glass, it's only 5mm deep, so it really feels like a proper pen to paper kind of experience. You feel like you really are writing on the screen itself, and a very good user experience. With 120 Hz refresh rate, what we find is that there's no sort of line lag dragging behind the pen, so it does follow and refresh pretty much real time. You're there using it, and it feels like a very natural, fluid motion of when you're inking onto the screen. So if we move on to the next slide here, Russell mentioned that there was the two models, the 55 and the 84-inch. We're finding that the split of sales on those, just to mention, is 70% is usually on the 55, and you'd expect that from a, I suppose, use case and a cost perspective as well. So running through and pulling out a few of the highlighted points here on the 55, the width of the unit, side to side, we're looking at nearly 60 inches. So we're calling out this basically because one of the things you need to consider with any sort of large format display is how you're going to maneuver this thing around and how you're going to get it into your residence or premises. So it will fit in pretty much the average lift space, stairwells, service lifts for sure. It's only 7.5 stone. It's a two-man kind of lift. So it's nothing too intimidating, over and above what we've seen in today's market with existing people that have dealt previously with plasmas or LCDs, etc. It's a 1080p format, as I mentioned, at 120 hertz, and it's got an Intel i5 processor in there with 8 gig of RAM and 128 gig solid state disk. So it's more than enough up for the job of the apps that's going to run on it. And the solid state disk size, some people might query that might not be enough, but we'll go on to why it's that big shortly. One point to note as well, networking, it does have Wi-Fi in there, but if you're going to be using the Skype for Business function and specifically the video functions that go along with that, we do recommend that it's actually connected to the network via the gigabit interface with a wire. From an audio video perspective, we've got the two 1080p front-facing cameras, one on either side, just mounted above the speakers. These are auto sensing, so if the speaker naturally walks from side to side around the board, what we find is that that they will actually naturally switch to where the presenter is standing, so you get more of a fluid sort of video experience. The Mirrorcast enablement as well helps you broadcast straight to a hub. So if you've got a Surface Pro, you can actually just send your content directly with no wires, and we'll cover a little bit of the content sharing capabilities in a slide later in the presentation. Obviously, as Russ said, the ideal room, exec offices, huddle spaces, focus rooms, or even some some open plan areas where you just seriously want to walk up to the board and have a bit of a brainstorming or an ad hoc session with other staff or team members. So it's perfect for that kind of use case as well. A little bit more about the connectivity on the 55. So we won't cover the power because that's pretty standard format. We've got various USBs on the underside of the screen and serial connection as well. That serial connection for use with control systems enables a few little functions really. So we've got power, brightness, volume, mute, and switching video source. Various other audio outs and ins that we can utilise if it was integrated into a sort of larger environment. And some guest video inputs if you want to connect your laptop or room PC from a cable perspective. And also one final thing to call out there is the external PC mode switch. So if we put that into operation, it basically just becomes a large display. So when Russ mentioned the projector sort of feature, that's kind of replacing any sort of projector that we'd want to have in the room. So we quickly move on to the 84-inch screen here. Really, the point here is the size of the 84. It's a very impressive unit. When you stand in front of it and you utilise it, it really does have a physical room presence. It's great for working on with 2 or maybe even 3 people at the same time, and it really does fill those larger room spaces where you might want to look at more technical drawings or it's being used in more anger as a video device. But it is a seriously large product. As you can see from the weight of the product there, it's 20 stone. It's a 4-man lift. So you've really got to think about, is it going to fit in the building? And therefore, with any 84-inch installation, we absolutely advise a pre-site visit to check that the unit's not just going to go physically into the building, but it's physically capable of being mounted on the walls, or if any remediation works are going to be required. So it's a 4K format screen. Again, same refresh rate, 120 hertz, and it's got the Intel i7 processor in this unit. All the other features pretty much are the same, with 100-degree field of view, cameras, etc., etc., pens, and as I say, slightly larger rooms, or potentially it could be used for those more sort of high-end engineering applications where people really want to use it, as I say, in anger. When you do sharing between these 2 boards, end to end, the fluidity of sharing when one person is inking from one side to the other really is very quick, and those kind of applications that would really push those kind of things to the boundary, they might want that larger format display that the 84 gives them. Again, we're not going to cover all these in particular on the 84, as many of them are mirrored. I think it's just worth calling out here that the USBs increase in number from 2 to 4 in the USB type A section, and the external PC video inputs, we get a couple of DisplayPort inputs on that instead of just a single one like we did with the 55. We've mentioned the weights of the screens and potentially the use cases and areas which they'll sit in. So obviously the wall mount, we really don't recommend the wall mount unless you've got a solid installation concrete wall for something like the 84, you are going to need the floor supported wall mount for that kind of solution, as the 84 is not recommended to be a mobile unit. It really is a bit of a beast to move around. So the wall mount unit is for solid installation 55s really in our eyes, such as the executive office or project meeting rooms, etc. The floor supported wall mount could be for either unit. And then the rolling stand is really more aimed at that 55-inch screen that we want to, move from one mobile training room potentially into an open space, etc., etc. I'll pull out a few of these points on the hardware features. We won't cover every single point this morning, but on the side console controls, you mentioned the controlling capability, control capability with a serial connection on the screen. Obviously, there's some side controls for those audio and source selection type areas of the boards. There's a side USB port, and that basically allows us to inject content into the hub, whether it's a PowerPoint or OneNote files, something along those lines. Point to note there is it's not executable files. You cannot write to disk on the units. It's a very much a locked down system. And therefore, as we mentioned before, the app stuff that Russ pulled out there is literally what we're going to allow to be pushed onto the unit. There's some NFC capabilities for tap to share that we can use. And as I mentioned before, we've got 1080p 100-degree field of view cameras, and that's integrated, as mentioned, on each of the speaker columns on the sides of the unit. A few more points to make. One-touch meeting start is very much a walk-in and utilise sort of environment with a Surface Hub. We're just coming in, we're either picking up a pen and starting off a whiteboard, or we're touching the screen and joining a scheduled meeting or an ad hoc meeting, or deciding that we want to use a whiteboard, create a Skype meeting ad hoc call, etc. So we can do that as and which we please with it. It's a resource account on there. So ideally the way we see it being used is if you have a company, a boardroom sort of mailbox, you'd then invite the Surface Hub. It would inherit that meeting, and therefore you'd walk in, you'd be a contact into that meeting, so would whoever you invited, as would be the hub in that meeting room. So you can simply join the meeting that way. You can call the hub directly. As I say, it is just like any other user. Scheduling that meeting, pull that before, it's just a straightforward thing like you would schedule a meeting with one of your colleagues, and how you would with most organisations we deal with, schedule a meeting room resource. An important point to note here is the, I suppose we call it the I'm done feature. When you're finished, you exit the meeting, and basically any content that you've decided to write into OneNote files, on whiteboards, you've been looking through browsers, Adobe files that you might have seen, etc., etc. You exit that meeting session, you end the session from a button at the bottom of the board. Basically, that will remove all of those pieces from that unit. So if you've been looking at sensitive financial information, project information, HR information, anything of that like, it will be removed from that board, and there will be no access to that from anybody that next comes along and begins a new session. So it's quite important to pull out that from a security perspective, all of that's been covered. As I mentioned, we can email things out of that whiteboard, whether it's a OneNote, we can save and recall from OneDrives, etc. I did mention before about multiple people working on a board, so we can do that with a side-by-side collaboration feature. As it says 3 simultaneous pens, despite the fact only 2 actually ship with the board. You can get another one, and three pens can be used on that board at the same time. More use case for the 84 with different inking colours, etc. for that multiple use. Simultaneous touch and ink, so the board knows when it's a pen, because the pen's got an electrostatic charge which is pulsing onto the screen, which knows that it's the pen using it, and not a human hand which is just moving stuff around the board area. So it can understand the difference between those two touches, which is unlike other things which are on the market. And then we have the application management. So I think maybe the important point to call out here is point 4. So there's no group policy applied to these units. And what we can do though is we run the app management from Intune is basically going to be used. We believe that that's either going to be or has recently been announced in the Microsoft Ignite conference starting this week. If it hasn't been announced yet, it might be something that's going to be called out in the very recent months. So Intune will be the way forward for app management on these, or you can do them via mobile device manager, as point 2 suggests there. Very quick slide, just to cover really the first 2 points here, is that the Windows 10 PC tablets, like the Surface Pro that I'm using today to deliver this content, they will get all of those features, whether it's wired or wireless with inkback and touchback, whereas other Windows operating systems from 8.1 and previous and other manufacturers, including Android and iOS, they won't get the full wireless inkback touchback kind of environment, which as soon as you use it with a Surface Hub, and one of the calls to action today is to really come and see the Surface Hub in action, you really see the benefit and the simplicity that using that Windows 10 PC and tablet sort of environment brings to the experience for the user. I'm not going to cover the warranty overview. The slides will be sent out, I believe, to everybody attending the call this morning. So we'll skim over that for the needs of time, as I know that I've probably overspoken, as I usually can on these sort of events. And what I'll do now is I'll pass you back to Russell.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you. So why choose Westcon as your Surface Hub partner? Well, Westcon, it really is transforming IT distribution with our best-in-class solutions around, Skype for Business. We've actually got the largest ecosystem of Skype for Business hardware, software, and services in distribution. And if you look on the slide there, you can see, some of our key partners. One being obviously Polycom. So with the Surface Hub, you do have the ability to actually build out the solution by adding things like Polycom Trios, Roundtable CX devices, even all the way up to Polycom's Eagle Eye Director. If you have a particularly large boardroom, you can integrate third-party cameras to improve and enhance the experience. Also on there, we have other ranges of vendors here, AMX for room control systems and other vendors there. But really, it's about building out the solution and actually enhancing the proposition for your customers. So Microsoft have appointed Westcon to really help develop the VADOR channel, which is the Value Added Distributor Opportunity Reseller Program. And really what that's about is it's about making it easy for you to quickly start selling Surface Hub, profitably. So all you need to do to get started is actually enroll as a VADOR reseller online. Choose Westcon as your preferred distributor and literally start selling. Westcon will take care of the rest. So there's no hoops, no hurdles. It really is just straightforward, very straightforward. I'm going to run through now, a few points here, because when you sell the Surface Hub from Westcon, you're not just getting a product, you're actually getting a range of services to help complete a complete wraparound, really, including marketing, logistics, and training. I'm going to run through some of these just briefly. So we actually have a demo seeding program, which gives the end users the opportunity to spend 30 days getting to know the Surface Hub, and that includes installation, shipping, and user adoption training as part of that package. We've got a pre-sales solutions team here who can help, getting everything right in terms of integration, etc. We've got an implementation and provisioning team, which is actually available across 150 countries, that can help with configuration and integrating the Surface Hub. As I mentioned, end user adoption training, very important. We can support, with end user adoption training, etc. I mentioned the ecosystem wrap, so we've got a complete set of solutions we've built around Skype for Business to help you. We've also got a lead generation for partners. It's called our VIP program, which can help boost your sales and marketing by really doing focused call outs and sales and marketing initiatives. And we've got Westcon Financial Services available to you as well to make purchasing more flexible for the larger deals. Marketing, again, we've actually got collateral, which you guys, all of our partners can customize and send out via multi-channel marketing campaigns. And logistics, a key part of Surface Hub is around logistics. We've got obviously a range of logistics services all the way up to a white glove installation service, which will actually take care of unboxing and making sure everything is perfect right first time. So what next? We invite, as I mentioned before, we invite you to enroll as a VADOR reseller online, and there is a link there which you all will receive. Select Westcon as a Surface Hub distributor, and then reach out to us. We're here to help you and support you with this fantastic opportunity. There isn't any certifications or demo equipment requirement, etc. And if you do have customers that you want to come and show the solution, we have one available here in our Crawley office. And you're more than welcome to reach out. We're very keen to support you. So thanks everyone for joining today. And again, feel free to ask any questions you want to. I really appreciate your time joining the webinar today, and let's make Surface Hub a success together. Thank you.